So what are you doing?
Nothing.
Nothing? Why not?
I'm trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.
Oh, boy, oh, boy.
Hey, Al.
Hey, yeah, we're live. What?
Went out and had a vape before we started.
Oh, there she goes. She was waiting to say, honestly, this little fucking girl. Has to always throw me under the bus.
You know,
It's not a bad
He's
thing.
so proud.
I'm so
He
proud.
should be so proud.
Okay. Hey, everybody, and welcome to The Higher State, where we talk about all things related to cannabis and health and wellness. Bridging the gap, really, between the... What's so funny? You like how I changed my voice? That was pretty good, eh? Huh?
Oh, man, I was ready.
Bridging the gap between, I don't know, the lifestyle world and medicine. Today, we're actually switching gears a little bit today. I have, today my co-host sitting right next to me, Rita. We're going to start off talking to her, and we're because why not? Because we love her. And we're going to talk about the black market, the state of the black market. Also going to go through some interesting news. There wasn't a whole lot this week, but there's a couple of things that we got to talk about. But then we're going to get into a really interesting conversation, something that happens that, questions we get asked all the time in our clinic, and specifically, the physicians get asked is what's the dealio with cannabis and sexual health and sensuality and sexuality? And so I thought the best way to bridge that conversation is to bring on somebody who spends most of her time educating the public and talks about sexual health and is a sex educator, and that's Katrina, who's the cannabis priestess. And she'll be here. She's going to show up a little bit later on. And we're going to have a really good conversation about the health of sexual health and what the benefits are of sex and masturbation and how cannabis is involved with that. Is that funny?
No, but I thought of my own benefit.
Oh, right. Okay. Great.
Oh, this is going to be hilarious.
How can this go wrong? How can this go wrong at all? I tried getting Dr. Squizzato to take my place today. She said no. But it's an important conversation, and I think talking about things like empowerment in the bedroom and consent and conscious conversations, those are really important for overall general well-being. And what are the benefits of cannabis in sexual health? I mean, right now it's one of the largest. I think it's like a super fad right now, and it's really lots of companies coming out, with products and lubricants, and what does all that all mean? So I'll go through some of the science. Katrina's going to go through, some of the sexual health stuff, and Rena's going to enter her comments in between all of this while I feel really awkward and strange sitting in the middle. But it's really important, and I think more physicians need to talk about it. And it's a problem because there's not really many outlets to talk about it. Anyway, we're going to get Rena started because I don't know. Katrina should be here in a little bit. She finished something at 3 o'clock. So, Rena. First of all, what's happening?
Oh, not much. Where's Katrina coming from today?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea. I think maybe she's working.
Yeah. Oh, no, I meant like city?
Oh, no, she's here. She's actually here today.
All right.
She's here for a couple weeks.
Because she's in, Thailand now.
She's in Thailand. I don't know where she is. I'll let her tell you where she is. I have no idea. I think she, was a nomadic wanderer for the last year. So
yeah.
We'll find out where she is.
Right.
So since last we spoke, we were at Cannacrawl together.
Which was fun.
How was that?
That was excellent. It was phenomenal for me because it was the first time that we held it in a cultural setting.
How'd that go over?
Fantastic.
Really?
Yeah, my elders were very, very impressed and really embraced what we did. They've been trying to encourage us to, to utilize their venue for quite some time now. But, it took a lot of conversation because I wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page and that this was something, we're still trotting on a very fine line, right? Like it's, some of the companies that are there are completely different, but some of us are still trying to find a way in. And I don't want to jeopardize anything for anyone else, right? So it has to be something that everybody's completely aware of. And these are the folks that are from my culture who feel the same way as I do in terms of, feeling like we've been left out.
You're getting.
Am I getting amped?
Yeah, you're getting.
Thank you. Sorry, was I like a
No problem. No, it's not you.
Is it working better now?
Yeah, that cable flew bird.
Okay.
Oh,
great.
the cable's gone though? Does that work?
Keep talking.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, that works.
So things worked out really well. Thank you so much. They were very impressed. They can't wait to have us back. They want us to do more. We're looking at, remember I was talking to you about doing something more along the lines of health fairs and wellness fairs?
Yeah.
This is something we're very interested in doing. So this is something I'd like to explore more. And,
What do you want to do with that? What are your thoughts around what you're thinking?
Yeah, so the thoughts are, something like a marketplace, of course, that will just kind of be an ancillary kind of a service on the side, but the emphasis would be on, the majority of the population in that club are aging. They're aging people. They have questions.
Why don't you tell us where? So it was at the.
Yeah, I can say it. Why not?
Can you say it? Can we say it? Do you not want to say it?
Well,
do you feel like?
You know what? They're comfortable with it. They are comfortable with it. I was the one who was maybe a little bit less comfortable because I know that that's a group that, already been targeted in the past, right? And,
so maybe it's best leaving it
maybe, possibly, yeah. But, it wouldn't be hard to find it if you really, really wanted to know. But, a wonderful cultural organization that represents, people of the Caribbean and those who have immigrated.
By the way, you're wearing earrings that have cannabis, like little buds on them. Do you see these things?
They're so cool, guys. Check out Mellow Moments. Mellow makes them, and she makes them from actual craft cannabis buds.
So let me ask you a question. Cool. Love your glass. By the way, you notice I don't have a swear jar here today. I'm working on actually today I'm working on not swearing, so I took away the swear jar. I think I've realized that it was a lot of fun clicking and stuff. So today I consciously kept it away so that I don't swear. Maybe that'll
good luck with that.
Help me. Oh yeah. Okay. So. By the way, I don't think, Katrina, if you're listening, I'm not sure I told you the address. 1030 Upper Jane, and it's Unit 101. This may not happen today if you're listening, but you'll say Synergy Health right on the thing. You can't miss it. Google it.
I don't see her in there.
Okay, cool. So listen, you mentioned cultural. So I'm going to bring up a comment that you said this week.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because I think it's really important. How do you feel about me bringing that up?
Fine.
Good. And I think you should. I mean, I actually don't think it was... Yeah, I don't think there was anything taboo about it. And you know what it actually made me do? So this week you wrote a post saying that it's important to... Are you trying to show we're live here? I mean, I love having you here. It's like AD. You're worse than me. Yeah, no, you just have this thing hanging down. Yeah. So, you wrote a post this week that talked about diversity on panels. Was it on panels or diversity in the industry?
Overall,
right.
Yeah, and representation. And,
right. So I went and looked at that panel because that actually it was like, oh, it's really interesting because, I think from my perspective, we brought this up once before when we spoke about women in the industry, and I had Abby and Amy here. I think you were here too, and my question was, why do we even have to even talk about these things anymore? Because isn't it just, aren't we already there? Our mindset is, I'm not looking at whether you're male, female, black, white, orange, green, purple, I'm looking at your knowledge.
Yeah.
I don't care about all of those things. But then the point is, and their point was raised, and it's a well-raised point was, but I'm looking at it from male privilege, right? So I'm looking at it already from a perspective that I don't see it because, one, I don't believe in it. I mean, I know it exists.
You have the advantage
but I have the advantage point of I am invited to these things, And I don't think about it because I think we should already be beyond that, but I think we still have to raise those issues. And so it got me looking at that, at the panel, and you were the only person there of diversity on that. Am I correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are your thoughts about what's happened from that? Like, I mean, I think it's important to raise. How do we increase the awareness? It's not even awareness. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. What the fuck do I say about it? I'm going to get the swear jar.
There's so much to say about it, right? I mean, it's, of course, it's easy to not see it if you're not, experiencing that, right? But when you really look at things, male privilege is one thing, but the other thing is
white male. I'll say white male privilege.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I don't, even though I'm of an ethnic minority, which is probably smaller than any other minority in the world. Yeah. Well, I'm Jewish. I represent. I represent less than 1% of the world's population. There's 14 million of us in the world. Mm-hmm. You'd think there was a lot more, but that's it in the entire world.
Yeah.
But I apparently look like white male privilege.
So that's going to come with certain advantages, right? So a preliminary discussion that we had with the panel prior to the actual event, brought up something very interesting, and the concern was, why do we even have to have a women's panel?
Right.
That's your thing. But the point is, the unfortunate truth is that we have to emphasize the fact that women are not being represented. Once we get to a point of equal representation, then we can do away with all of that. But the unfortunate truth is we have to do that right now. It sucks that we have to.
Right.
And not just that, having a women's panel and giving us one of the least desirable time slots, that's also in competition with what you were doing, and a lot of people I was for. Right. I wanted to go, to your seminars and
it was very poorly, or they meant well, but it didn't. The timing was.
In our opinion, in a lot of people's opinion, it wasn't planned in a way to give us the best possible outcome for the audience that we wanted and intended to attract.
Yeah. So just to clarify, seminar or a conference that happened this past weekend. I emceed the second day where cannabis meets healthcare, which was absolutely phenomenal. It was great. We had huge, impactful lecturers. Dr. Mike Verbora. We had Celeste Thurlwell. We had Tina, the lawyer, Tina Fraser, and we had Rahim Dalla. We had some really, we had some really, and then I lectured at the end, and I still emceed the day, and it was just super high impactful. But first, I mean, whoever made it to my lecture at the end, it was 4 o'clock. We were all exhausted. But at the same time as that was happening, it started in the morning. There was the women's breakfast, and there was the women in cannabis panel. And at 8 a.m.
it still had a really great attendance.
Oh, yeah.
It was almost sold out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that showed you how much of a need there is to present this at a time that would be, more accessible to more people.
Right.
There were tons of people who said that they wanted to come, but, because of kids or because of this or that, the other, it wasn't possible to make it there for 8 in the morning. And, I appreciate it. And this is, again, not a reflection on the expo. Cannabis, I do think, made efforts to create, inclusion here and there, but we're still at the beginning. So, they're open to it. The good thing is that they are open to it, and they're open to the feedback, because after my post, they did reach out to me, somewhat apologetically, and they expressed that this was not the intention, and they wanted to know.
Here's what I'll say about that. There was zero malice at all. I'll tell you, it wasn't a malicious.
I'm sure.
It wasn't malicious at all, which I think also brings up the point of there's things that we still have to think about, because we,
So the way that I expressed to them was, it wasn't a reflection on them.
No,
my
of course
post had
not.
nothing to do with them. More so about the idea that this is a recurring theme.
Yeah.
It
worked out well.
It worked out very well. I've been blessed to be asked to speak numerous times on numerous panels, interviews, newspaper articles, you name it. And the social justice piece and the inclusion piece is something I always speak about. And I have to tell you, 80% of the time it gets edited out. And so this is, it's become really beyond
edited out
all the time. Whether it's, for whatever reason. Right?
You know what's funny though?
So,
I've got something here. It's not funny, but something quite similar. When in California when we do all those retreats and all that stuff, and they interview myself, and then they interview my partner out there, Sari, and there it's more of like a lifestyle thing, but they still ask me all the medical stuff. I'm always edited out. Always. There's not a thing that comes out about medical in California. It's like they edit me like, I'll do like these 2-hour interviews, tell them all this stuff, and I'm literally edited till like there's nothing left.
Whatever they need.
Yeah, exactly. So there's whatever it is, people have like a mission, or whatever, a vision.
So that's what I told them is it's not so much a crack at them as much as it is organizations and expos like this that have the ability to impact a lot of people's thoughts, and specifically that target audience of people who are helping to create this new industry right now. Like, we're all in there. That was a very important thing for them to hear. And I didn't hear that resonating anywhere. I read that there was a diversity panel. Unfortunately, I don't even know where and when it was because I didn't see any advertising done around it. Yeah. I don't know who was involved. I'd like to see who the actual panel members were. That's definitely something I'm going to take a peek into. But, again, a professional expo that's truly about progress is going to take this as constructive, and they're going to do something about it. So they did express that they love my quote. They'd like to use it, at a future expo or in the future, some of their advertising.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was upset with it. It was just, there was no judge. It was just great. They want to be part of it.
Yeah.
Which is good because diversity is so important.
Yeah, totally. I think they just, they just wanted to make sure that there wasn't like an actual incident that occurred that, I just, I was hoping that it would have been up on the screen when I saw all of the other quotes. I was admittedly very disappointed.
Hold on, so you sent your quote in before.
They requested a quote from me.
Oh, this changes the way that I need it. I thought you were just,
last frame of thought, what do you want to impart on the crowd as you leave here today? What's going to be your lasting quote or whatever? So we were all asked to come up with something that represents, what we're essentially talking about, sum it up or whatever. So that was my quote. And I saw the quotes come up at the end.
And they let your quote out. Now that's douchebag. Okay, change my mind. So hold on a second. So now when I go back.
Left it out.
They're saying they didn't know.
They're saying they didn't know. Yeah, so they're kind of like looking into that. I don't know.
I think they do. I think the organizers are super inclusive humans. Like, I know who they are.
Yeah, and I think, it's probably just someone's judgment. Maybe they read it and thought, that might ruffle some feathers. Maybe we should leave it out. Or I don't know. I didn't think it was having
these conversations are going to ruffle feathers. Like, these are things we have to attack and not be afraid to attack.
We have to. And not just attack it. Like, this is the truth. Wake up, folks. Hello. This is not, I need to people, this is what it is. This is what it's been. It's time to see through the bullshit. We need to stop. Like, why can't we just stop right now? Why can we be tolerant of certain things because they don't affect us, and then other things, when they're in our face, we're so, up in our eyes against. We have to be that way when it impacts other people all the time. So to me, it's huge because I see all kinds of people, like people who have lost their homes and almost lost their businesses and all kinds of things, just because of all of the ramifications and effects and, after.
Well, that brings me to what I really wanted to, another thing I wanted to talk to you today about. I mentioned it, I think, last week, but there was a quote in Murder Mountain that really got to me, and it's a documentary on Netflix.
I haven't seen it. Murder Mountain.
Murder Mountain?
Yeah, I thought you saw it.
No, Making a Murderer.
Oh, no. Murder Mountain's about the cannabis industry in Humboldt County. Like, it is super intense. Like, it's more like the dark side of organized sort of crime side. But, I mean, it's also a whole lot of families and just...
I know some of it just, like, people that I've met because I care from around there, and especially the women that go and trim and stuff like that. There's a lot of, like...
And a lot of... It's the most... it's the state or the city limits where most people in California disappear.
Yeah.
And there's more reported missing people there than anywhere else in the state of California.
I believe
so. Murder Mountain looks at that. But one of the things it also dives into is the cultural beginnings of how Humboldt County started and the farmers that are just there trying to grow their crops and be left alone. But one of the quotes that really got to me, and which I wanted to bring up to you today, because you work in, I don't want to use words, but we're involved in the community, but you know, I don't know how to say we're involved with the black market, gray market, any market.
The legacy market.
Okay, that's it. Fair. Yeah, why not? I mean, the legacy guys that start businesses, they're not in. They're all the first guys out. I like that.
Yeah,
the legacy market.
Ms. V of oh my gosh.
I like that. That's a new word.
Organization escapes me. Yeah, she actually has a few cannabis businesses on the West Coast. So she came up with that. She's like, why are we always calling everything bad black?
I agree.
Like, legacy
So
market.
I thought about that as well while I was even writing the word black market. Like, where did that come from? Anyway, I love this. This is my favorite time of day.
I know you like the dark.
You sure do.
It's all about contrast, right?
Yeah, no, listen, all the good stuff comes out at night. So I like that term, the legacy market. We heard that. I'm going to be like, why do we call all
things? They were the first.
For sure. And in business, people that start businesses and they lead, they're called the legacy guys. You know, the legacy guys.
The legacy product.
Yeah, they're exactly. Okay, so I like that. The legacy market. Very nice marketing, propaganda. Like, whoa, that doesn't sound
good. Katrina?
I have arrived here. I don't think she's going to find her way here, but I hope she does. Okay, so here's the quote. Nobody's gotten into a car accident just yet. All right, here's the quote. Legalization has done in 1 month in California what prohibition couldn't do in 40 years. Think about that, right? People, since legalization in Humboldt County, during the legacy era, the market was flourishing. Farmers were flourishing. Markets were flourishing. People were like, had businesses, they had employees. There was like economy. Like, sure, at the same time, there was nobody paying taxes to help those who were actually, you know, like us busting our tails off and paying for healthcare and all the other stuff. But still, there was a flourishing market. A month into legalization, most of these guys are closed down. The shops are gone. I mean, I'm surprised that our government didn't figure it out for 100 years. Yeah.
Are you really surprised?
I'm right. I mean, it is super slow. Legalization has effectively torn apart the legacy market. Am I wrong or not? So this is the argument. That's the question. Let's have a debate.
I would say that's not the case. I would say that, in fact, maybe a lot of storefronts are closing.
Dispensaries. How many are left here?
Here, are we talking Hamilton or California?
Here.
Oh, shucks. Okay,
like
so it's a totally different story. It's actually still totally flourishing in California. There's like, in fact,
hey, look who's made it!
Hey. We were just making jokes that you're outside honking your horn.
Come on, sit down. Hey, welcome. We're live. You can say hi.
Hello, Cameron.
You guys know each other?
We met.
All right. Oh, right. That's right.
She told me about mango and cannabis. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you don't want to be taking it unless you want to take it.
Yeah.
And keep going.
Fly a little higher.
Yeah, I mean, the science behind it, who knows? But I mean, myrcene. I mean, is it?
And if you cook it, I had read that terpenes are no longer effective in terms of their effect.
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
So the whole idea of pairing cannabis terpenes with cannabis cooking and cooking it into it is like kind of squash.
Right.
Like you're making like dressing or something.
Correct.
Where you.
I'm glad that you dispelled the myth.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, thanks.
Good job. So, just we're talking right now about the
Katrina's here.
The state of it's pretty directional, by the way.
So are you going to there?
No, you're good. Is she good? You good? She's good. The state of we're now calling it the legacy market, which takes over the word of black market. For cannabis. It's a great name. Yeah. So the state of the legacy market, and the question that we're debating is a quote that I heard in a documentary on Netflix called Murder Mountain, and it said legalization is done in 1 month in California what prohibition couldn't do in 40 years, and that's because everything now is like all the dispensary or all of Humboldt County is basically falling apart, and people are losing their houses, and the police are doing more raids and don't really care anymore to do them. They used to be very afraid to go to Humboldt. Humboldt was just armed, and or this mountain was just as armed as everybody else. So, question.
It's like cannabis land, actually.
Yeah, it's like Humboldt is like
the golden triangle. Like 90% of the weed comes from there.
Yeah, about 80% of all of the North American cannabis comes from that one region.
In California.
In California.
It's like it's like close to Oregon border. Yeah.
It's 5 hours north of San Francisco.
Okay.
Yeah, you have
And so you're saying it's a ghost town now?
Well, it's always been a little ghosty, but it's now started. Like the people that were flourishing there, the farmers that were there, are having a really hard time. So my argument is this the state of affairs here? Is that really what's happening? And what her thoughts were on it?
Oh, it's a little different. So it is a little different here than it is in California, and you might be able to find some stuff supporting this. So it did rock the dispensary business quite a bit, but I think you'll be surprised to find that California has actually had a spike in new grow operations and new growth.
Are they really? Like legal ones or illegal ones?
They're talking illicit is mostly what they're talking about, right?
Okay.
That's really what they care about, they print news about. But so what I read is that the government's they're kind of taking their hands off because they can't handle it. And so
Tell you, I received just having the retreat in when we were in Joshua Tree, San Bernardino County sent me like this nasty letter saying, "Don't ever come back here." And we don't even do cannabis. We don't even sell. We do nothing to sell. We just educate people and sit in ceremony. And
I think it really depends which county you're talking about.
Yeah.
San Bernardino is like Joshua Tree, Ojai, like all the Palm Springs.
I don't know state to state, but I know that I know the state overall.
Doesn't that look like a palm tree?
It looks like a palm tree.
Yeah.
I know that overall the state was supposed to license close to 2,000 dispensaries, and currently they have less than 600. And what's happened is because the regulations are so strict, and it's costly, a lot of dispensaries have gone out of business. They can't afford to stay in business and legalize and do the whole thing. So what I've read is that like the illicit legacy market has actually really taken off.
Really?
And that they actually have a lower number of dispensaries and stores starting up. And so there's a movement, and they're basically, just the same movement as always, support and include craft. Include the craft market, make it doable, make it accessible, and you're not going to have this problem. In fact, you can find some testament to this, believe it or not.
Like Old Testament? I'm talking shit again.
Believe it or
this
not.
Is me not having a swear jar here today because I'm trying to be super professional.
So this is why
this is like super professional.
You're always professional.
Of course.
I don't even know.
This is my research, yo.
I don't think I've ever seen you work so hard.
I usually don't. I don't usually work this hard.
This is very interesting.
Gotta make sure. Okay.
So some experts are actually,
and
I will find the articles to show you. Some experts
I like some experts.
They're predicting.
Better than research shows.
The legacy market is tearing apart the legal market right now.
In Canada.
In California.
No, I don't buy it.
Yes, I will show you. It's actually toppling the market.
I don't buy it.
Yes.
Is it?
It is.
Because in here, it's still 80% like.
We know dispensaries have gone down. We have
but in Canada, we have none left in Hamilton. But in Canada, the black market is flourishing.
So depending on province is different, of course. Right?
Yeah.
It's embraced out west, so we're including craft and things are flourishing. Out here, the illicit market is still what it was. It's not what it was maybe 6 months ago or even a year ago because of the obvious. There's an emphasis on making sure that they perform their rates. Ford came out and basically gave the commands that, they need to go gangbusters on everybody. So, but, it's obviously...
They also just put in another $17 million to help to safety, whatever that is.
Yeah. In fact, Anna Maria is speaking today with the Senate, presenting the founder of Cannabis Amnesty.
The one I drove home? See, I knew her name. This whole time I was just pretending.
Probably as we speak.
Really?
When she's supposed to be speaking,
How's that going? So, Cannabis cannabis amnesty, which is we speak about that all the time here. Since Seth Rogen, is that his name? Seth Rogen, endorsed it. Are we getting some more?
Yeah,
names?
I think that we pretty much. I think that we're at our target for signatures. The signatures honestly were just like an additional push to show the government that no, it's not just 10 of us or even a few thousand of us. Pretty much most of Canada's behind us with this message that if you're saying that it's no longer a crime, it wasn't a crime in the first place, then shake it up.
Yeah. I mean, California's done it a whole bunch of times.
Right. Yeah. Cali has there are tons of various cities throughout the United States. It's not a state thing as much as it is municipalities that are adapting it over there. So San Francisco even has AI where they're doing all of expungements.
I have IRA. I don't know what it is. What's AI? What are we talking about? Okay, I'm going to start pulling out, I have FRCP. I don't know what you're talking about. I've sworn a lot less. It's been a half hour. I can count 3 times.
He's not going to stop swearing.
No, I am. I wasn't on.
He's swearing on credit, though. Someone can
that's good. I love credit.
But, it's possible, and people are doing it. We just need to show our government that, there's no reason why we need to lag behind. And if we claim that we're progressive, in terms of our social policies and what have you, and if we claim that we are fair in terms of social justice, concerns, then hello, we're a little bit behind on the boat for that one.
Yeah.
So you're talking about letting people out of jail for things that are related to cannabis.
Yeah. We're talking about not just letting them out of jail. We're talking about expunging their records, meaning that they should never have had a record in the first place. Because the question is, if a law is unjust on its face, why, and then that law is repealed, why should somebody have suffered the consequences in the first place?
Well, I feel like a really weird time because I've been away for 8 months. And when I left, I would just walk to the corner store and buy a pre-roll and smoke it in the park. And now...
Right, you've been gone for 8 months, so what have you noticed since you've come back?
It feels like, where's everybody getting weed? No, but that's a real question. Where are they getting Where is
I think there's Hello Cannabis opened up in Dundas.
We have our 2 legal stores now.
There's 2 of them. One is open, or both open.
Or your former dealer.
Right. I have a feeling that most people are still going to their...
It spikes back.
But here's the problem. The problem is the general public. Okay, so I mean...
So this is what's happening in California. You're saying if you don't embrace the craft market, the legal market's going to fold. It's already starting to happen. Yeah. And that's what will happen here as well. Because people are, the majority of people who smoke cannabis and already support the legacy market have already stated that they're not planning on going into the OCS to pay double the price
for
shittier product.
So I think, though, remember, we're at, remember Abby's statement, now we're in the evolution.
Yes,
I think time is
the beginning.
Right.
Yes,
so this is the beginning. 1,000%. This is stage number 1.
Yes.
Of course, there's no way to. I think the craft market will start to be embraced a little bit more. Yeah.
What's the craft market?
Okay, great. Yeah. Cannabis. Yeah, tell them what the craft. You can.
Okay. So just the regular mom and pop farmers who've been doing it from the beginning of time.
Not the licensed producers. Right. Like the people that are growing.
If you think of Teller Estate wine versus going to a vineyard.
Right.
Small vineyard.
So it's not J-Lore, it's whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean? Isn't that like a name of a wine? Yeah. I'm a baby Amarone, a little bit. But then again, you put wedding cake in front of me, you put
nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
Pulling out the Chinese brain.
Knowledge. No, but which to me, which is a one would call it cultivar, I guess is what you would call that, otherwise known as a strain. Just more technical. So, cultivar is actually cultivars. Okay, here's my little knowledge, and then we're gonna move on because you have no idea. I've gotten a lot. People are so happy, and I'm trying to figure out. I was trying to get Vicky to come sit in my spot, so I didn't. I'm how do I do this? But people are really excited, and I think it's something that we get questioned about all the time, specifically around cannabis. But we also promote health and wellness here, and for people's stress and all of that. I mean, the things you do are super important. But we'll get to you in a
I'm going to
second.
promote some health and wellness. He's asking for some weed.
Oy, okay. Oy, okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
This is it's a Bovita. I like that Bovita. Interesting. Were they giving that away, or did you buy that?
Actually, a wonderful friend of us gave it to us, Jonathan Rich.
Oh, that's
nice.
Very earthy.
I think it's very well. This is something called
with some lemonine in it. You can smell the lemonine. You can smell the terpenes in there. Okay, so hold on. Cultivar.
Yes.
So cultivar stands for if you have a grower who's growing cannabis, when they grow different genetics, they're called cultivars, which literally means like cultivated.
That's cool.
Yeah. Cultivated variety is basically what its short form is. So if you say OG Kush, or you say cupcake, or you say orange cookies, right? Which are right, like Gage makes that stuff. Anyway, Rami was in the other day, and so when you say those names, you're really talking about a cultivar, because those are the strains that they're cultivating.
What cultivar are you smoking these days?
I don't smoke cannabis.
Oh, sorry.
No! Bring it back. That's not going to happen. No, I don't smoke cannabis. Vape cannabis. Yeah, I vape cannabis. Actually, CW4, which you... from John Chasen, which is like probably an extinct cultivar that he somehow genetically brought back to life from ancient times. And if you see him, he's walking with Moses and Jesus. But I'm just saying. Anyway, I appreciate it, because I don't get that high and the low, and it's just like even, and it's, why putting me to sleep?
I feel like it's like that with a lot of the heirloom strains, because they're more balanced in general, right?
Yeah, it's super. Well, it's 42% THC.
Oh,
actually.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you probably never heard of it before. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I looked at the genetic. I actually looked at his genetic testing.
And what's the CBD on it? Yeah.
Yeah, so it doesn't. I don't really know. It has a very minimal amount of
What are
CBD.
you using it for?
For in that case?
Yeah.
I use it. No. Actually, so you don't get it's
really
not like that at all. Yeah, I was actually using that stream certainly just to feel good.
Feel good.
Yeah.
Like
So overall well-being, sense of well-being. So I don't drink much, and so we were out and people were drinking, and if I drink wine, I'll go to sleep.
Yeah, I get tipsy from like a glass of kombucha. I'm like,
that's not alcohol. That's just fermented tea.
No,
I guess the fermentation process can.
I think it's like 0.5%.
I think you're point lying.
Well, I feel great.
No, so honestly, that was purely for lifestyle purposes. There was no medicine involved with that. But the truth is, it certainly helped people with anxiety and PTSD.
And what's it called again?
You won't ever find it. It's only his strain. It's called CW4. Like it's his own tissue cultured strain.
Cool,
so it doesn't exist anywhere.
It was good.
Not mine. It is. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. No. So for me to medicate, if I'm medicating, for me it's mostly for pain. I have a lot of pain. So just from all my injuries in sports. So I use a much higher CBD strain. Actually, Mango Haze would be my favorite. My favorite strain to medicate, because it's a balance. It's pretty balanced. It's like 4 to 6% THC and like 8 to 12% CBD. So it's almost like a 1 to 2. For me, a 1 to 2 is like ratio 1 to 2, 1 to 3 is really good for my pain in general. For those who are listening. Okay. Yes, here we go. Katrina! I'm actually really glad you're here today. One, because you let me know that, May is like a month to have these conversations.
Masturbation May.
Woo!
Yes.
You were born in the right month.
Okay. Got it. All right, here we go. No, I'm just kidding. Here it starts. How could this go wrong at all? It can't. So, in our clinic, as as cannabis, in the last couple of months, I would say I've noticed an increase in the questions around sexual health and cannabis use. I could come at it certainly from a science perspective and tell you how the cannabis is affecting, from what we know. We don't really know all that much, by the way, but it seems that it's very positive for most people. We need a lot more studies on it. I'd like to see a lot more basic research on it. But the question of how is cannabis useful during sex, and how is it beneficial to overall sexual well-being, it's really important, has come up, and a lot of companies have popped up in the last couple of months. High on Love, for example. I don't know if you know them.
No, I don't.
They're a great company, and they make lubricants. And I think she came from like the adult. There's a word for that I can't think of. When they make toys and stuff. I was gonna say confection, but it's not food. Novelty. That's the word I'm looking for. I just got from all right. Not that I'm not a. Anyway, I'm comfortable enough. So the adult comes from the adult novelty world, and then they started developing CBD infused lubricants and things like that. But before you even get to that point, you have to be comfortable with yourself, and you have to be comfortable with your body. You have to be comfortable with sexual health in general. And I think one of the things that a lot of physicians, and that's why I'm here to learn as well, we don't talk about, because we're uncomfortable talking about it, is that like we don't talk about what the benefits are of sex and sexual well-being, including masturbation. And so I think those things are really important to talk about, and I think we need to talk about them. But before we do start talking about that, I want to ask you a question. You had a post a couple weeks ago, and I commented on it. It had to do with social media, and you were commenting about some sexual adventure that you had, and that you were talking about it on social. Yeah, I know, one of the billions. But then I'm assuming right now there's a lot of objectifying of women on social media. I find that. I could be totally wrong, but I find that. I find there's a lot of objectifying, and people like you guys that are sending like direct. I've learned all this stuff now. I was like, when somebody, like I had a conversation with Naz, and I don't know, we were out at a dinner, and I find out like there's people that like direct message women, and like this crazy shit. Yeah,
the whole
videos, and they make these comments. Like, I just don't understand what gives anybody the right to do something like that. But the objectification of women, I would say it's more often by men than towards women. I mean, that's just what it is. Just go to any club and you'll see it. How is it that you deal with that? Because you must get it all the time. And I remember you made a comment about it. And I think it's so important because everybody's on social media right now. And just because you're doing what you do to yourself, and like say, you know, when you talk about masturbation and you just finish masturbating, doesn't give somebody else the right to, on social media, to then, you know, comment and say all this other nasty shit. Or does it?
Okay, this is a good question.
Or does it? Because you're opening and inviting those questions. Are you opening and inviting those questions by putting it on social media?
So I could get really mad, and at first I used to be quite offended when I would get dick pics.
Can I just, I'm going to interrupt you. I didn't even introduce you.
Oh, hi, everyone.
Guys, I'm going to go back to that question, but first I got to introduce you. And before, hold your thoughts. And yes, so who is Katrina? I'm actually looking at, look, there you are.
My bio.
I've got her bio up here. But you call yourself a sexual empowerment coach.
Yeah.
Tell me about who you are and all about how you got to where you are right now. And then we'll go back to that question. I'm sorry, guys, for stopping that, but I just thought we need to qualify her before we, you know, we got to, before you start talking about it.
Street cred.
Street cred. No, but just tell me who you are. I think it's fascinating what you do, and you've changed the lives of hundreds of people. So I think those things are, I've referred people from my clinics to go and talk to you. I tell people about you all the time.
Thank you.
Yeah, go follow Pleasure Priestess.
That's me on
Right. So I tell people all the time to go and do that because a lot of people have issues with whether it's trauma. Usually it's around trauma and I read a lot of Gabor Mate. And well, he basically talks about, childhood trauma affecting all of our issues today.
And how our addiction, sex addiction.
Right, 100%. It's all because of trauma. But, and when people present like that, I just say, go read your stuff. Cool. Anyway, so tell us a little about you and like what happened with your life that got you to where you are. We already know about Rita.
Okay, so I was like born and raised in a really conservative Christian environment. So the land of contrast was rich. And I was always interested in sex, but there was literally nothing. And I was a snoopy motherfucker of a kid. Like, when I babysat anyone, shout out to anyone who I babysat for, I snooped every cupboard, every drawer. Because I wanted to find, like, condoms. I wanted to find a dildo. I wanted to find, like, anything. We didn't have cable TV, but other people did. So I would watch Sex with Sue at night. You guys remember that show?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I would have, like, the remote at the ready to change it to some cartoon because I just, like, everyone was Christian. Nobody talked about sex, but I was fascinated.
Super religious.
Super religious, yeah. Like, no sex before marriage, hammered into you. The books for sex education were, like, sex is a beautiful gift from God, which I actually would probably say that sentence now as an adult, but mean an entirely different thing.
From source, you would say maybe. You would leave out the word God. Try to leave God out of, like, my life. No, every life. Really sorry. I come from a religious background too. Anyway.
I've worked on, like, making peace with the word, but that's the whole
the word God?
Yeah.
We need to have that conversation.
I honestly found God through cannabis.
Yeah.
Like, super sound in nature.
Yeah.
I was living in
Source.
Sudbury.
I found source and spirituality.
One day, Ira, you'll be able to take on. It's beautiful. It's just not today.
Yeah.
So anyways, I grew up super snoopy, total sexual famine in the land of Chatham, Kent, Ontario.
Where are you from?
Chatham, Kent, Ontario.
Okay, I've heard of Chatham before.
Yeah, right? You feel this, right? Maybe you've heard of the wheel.
I have friends from Chatham, and we joked that they didn't have running water in Chatham.
Okay.
There we go. And, like, no cum either.
Oh, here we go. How can we go wrong? Okay, we're going to keep it super professional.
We'll bring it back. I did go to school.
As long as you say whatever you want.
So that's pretty professional.
Okay.
At Western.
Oh, you did?
I was one of the first graduating classes with a degree in sexuality studies.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
I know. Well, yeah, I watched a lot of gay porn. I talked about, like, what's it mean to be a sexual person? What is sex?
So most people do on the internet.
Yeah, I just got to pay thousands of dollars to do it at school.
Wow.
Great.
All right. Oh, that's what you did? Hold on, you got to watch gay porn?
Yeah. I remember this one class, and it was called, like, sexual personhood or something. And it was really interesting because I'm super uncomfortable, like, sitting in a classroom environment watching, like, gay porn and being like, okay. Like,
but you were breaking it apart, or whatever.
Taking it and talking about it.
Remember when I was talking about that show? I'm interrupting. I interrupt, by the way. You haven't seen me on, like, I'll interrupt.
I'm like, I gotta talk louder. You talk so loud.
I thought I was going to talk over top of you. This is what happens. Yeah. Don't you remember? Okay. Remember when I was talking about Major Mike? The internet guy.
Mike.
No. The rapper who
did the advice thing,
who did all those videos and was like, how do we get people to actually learn how to change a light bulb and snake a drain? And so he made porn with it and had people learn how to, and everybody learned. Like it went from like 10% learning to 90% learning.
Yeah, they say it takes like 400 synapses in your brain to learn a new thing, but only 40 with play.
Really?
Yeah, so if you're learning something with play, and sex is adult play, you know?
Right.
Like, yes, you can learn a lot through sex. So we should totally sneak some more education into porn if we were smart.
Well, that's what he did. So that there's a whole show on him doing that, and he put it to the test. Like he took people and tried to teach them how to like he put a video up. This is how you think. Think.
How did he get pornographic?
Change a life. Oh, he did all types of porn. Like
they like sneaking his brain
and having while they were having Yeah, they were actually.
Wow.
But learning went up 90%. Like there was an objective outcome.
I love that people are studying this because it gives me such hope for being
I think he was just trying.
I don't know about studying.
I don't think he was trying to study it. He was trying to just show that
he measured the percentage.
he did. Well, he did.
Sell it to a community college.
He did. And he tried selling it to the community college. Yeah, he did. You watched it? Yeah. Yeah.
This guy sounds great.
No, he's a rapper.
No, he's a rapper.
No, he is great. No, like he is amazing. He's great, and like like seriously, I think when I said no, I meant it as like no, it's awesome.
Okay, great.
Anyway, he also convinced the Crips and Bloods to get together and create Crip Cola. Anyway, it was really good. He was trying to take
Killer Mike.
Killer Mike. Yeah. He was trying to take the discrimination.
Yeah.
He was totally off topic.
I was like, I have no idea.
Yeah, you gotta watch that. Anyway.
Okay, all right.
So you went to school.
I went to school.
For sexuality.
Yeah, and then I went to more school to be a midwife, and I delivered a bunch of babies. I'm actually going back to school in the fall to finish that degree. I've taken a 5-year break.
Really?
Wow, this is my first time saying it in, like, what is it, the internet? Going back to school. Yeah, I don't love school either, but I only have a year and a half left. Okay, so I studied midwifery, and
you can get totally off topic here. That's just how we roll.
Okay, cool.
We just flow. That's it. We're in flow all the time.
Love it. So I was practicing giving like pap smears on my friends, like because we had to learn these skills. You know what I mean? Like honestly, because
can I use you as a model? We never did that. That wasn't my medical school experience.
Like you can imagine that like cracked open a bit.
Right. And you came from you were still in a very religious environment.
Yeah.
You went to Western from a very religious environment. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. You're putting all the pieces
I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so now cracking up, then I was also studying at Laurentian in Northern Ontario. A bunch of hippies were like getting stoned and like doing yoga naked in their backyard. So I'd like go to my friend's house and she'd already be naked, and I was like, okay, so this is normal. And so that like really started to break that down for me. That nudity is normal. I was being exposed to sexuality through midwifery, but not in a sexual way. It's just like, where's your cervix?
Very clinical.
How do I find your ovary? Like, oh, I'm just getting comfortable with a female body in a way that, I mean, lots of people feel really scared even getting changed in a public pool. You know, like taking their clothes off. Nudity is really hard for most women. The number one thing that makes women insecure in relationships is body image. And so body image and sexuality are so linked. So that was kind of the beginning of my practical journey.
You think, and that's our condition.
Yeah.
Right? I think, it's probably multifactorial, but most of it is related to confirmation bias of our past belief system.
Yeah, babies aren't covering their genitals when they emerge from the womb.
No.
They're like, ah!
And you shower in front of your kid, and you're naked in front of your kid till they're 5 years old, or whatever it is, like nobody cares. And all of a sudden, somehow you got to start covering yourself up.
Well, yeah, and because we don't talk about sex, there's a level of shame that mills kind of pass down to their children, because you have to acknowledge this part of your body, and most people don't even acknowledge, thank you, genitals. Like most people weren't given accurate names for their genitals. We didn't even understand the internal clitoris until the late 90s. That's women's pleasure organ. Yeah, it's all the same shit. You know, like let's hide this stuff because it makes people happy and healthy.
Wow, that's a really good point. Holy smokes. It's so true. You know, I never even thought of it like that. But that's really what we do as a society, right? We try to, anything that makes us as individuals or gives us individuality, we have to quash. That's sort of the history of the world.
Yeah.
And if it makes you an individual, well, sorry, it's not good. You got to listen to us. Because we know best, otherwise you're an outlaw.
Yeah. Self-expression, right? This is, I think, our biggest challenge and the biggest regret of people who are dying is, like, I wasn't really myself. I wasn't self-expressed. I didn't love as much as I could have. You know, like, we have a hard time just being ourselves on loudspeaker, and I think that if I had to encapsulate the kind of the pulse of the sexual woes of the planet right now, it's that same thing as well. Like, we're just trying to pretend to be something that we're not so that we feel desired or attractive, and we're not having sex in ways that we actually want to, and we have lost the skill to play and to like really know moment to moment what we want. And I'm sure
there's always so much emotion behind this the act of sex, that whole belief system of how we have to have it, and it takes away that sort of pleasure of it, that whether it's animalistic or not, the physical expression of it we think has to mean more than what it is.
And even if we think about like what does the word sex mean?
I don't know.
Exactly. So lots of people will think, oh, that's penetrative sex, and we put all of these walls around our sexuality because we have governed it so much, which really makes some people wrong, some people right, and erases a whole bunch of other people. Because lots of people will never have penetrative sex because they're not fucking into it. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah. And some people can. And also, that's not what sex is. So I want to just acknowledge as well that if you felt turned on, your sexual energy is engaged, and then you do something with it, you're having sex.
Mm-hmm.
So if I feel...
Interesting.
So just to make Dr. Ira super uncomfortable.
I don't think there's many things in the world anymore that can make me feel uncomfortable. So for example... But I'm already there.
Right.
No, I think as a physician, this is super important for us to understand, because I think most people have issues around all of this.
Yeah, and this is really important for consent as well, because so say my sexual energy is engaged, I'm like feeling turned on, and I'm being like really present with you, and I'm like engaging that. One, we probably have like a better conversation because I'm just being like present and like engaged. So like being turned on is good for the whole world.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. So that's one. Now say your sexual energy was also engaged, and you were also like being really present with me, and we're like, okay. Then all of a sudden, we just through like looking at each other, we used to be eye fucking. You know what I mean? You can be having sex with the whole world all the time if you want to.
Right.
Okay. And the other thing is if your sexual energy was engaged, and I felt that, and I wasn't into it, then I can have a boundary and just be like, oh, like that's not how this is going right now, just with my energy. And when we're aware,
like you mean you just withdraw from it?
Yeah, or there's subtle ways, like if you were like implying something, or just I think we can tell when people are being like flirty with us, or they're using their sexual energy with us, and we're not into it. There's ways to direct that conversation where you could just be like, I'm not going there right now, or like I'm kind of uncomfortable, or like what's going on here?
So body language plays a really important part in that whole thing.
Yeah. And so when we just talk about sex as being like penetrative sex, penis in vagina sex, then what happens is all of this muddiness that happens before sex, what's that? That's just like this confusing, muddy area where people violate each other's boundaries because, it's not sex. Does that make sense? It does, actually.
Interesting. It's such an interesting way to look at it because, everything before that seems to be okay then. Because
sex is advanced technique. Penetrative sex is advanced. We need to be practicing intimacy and boundaries and understanding the smaller units of our sexuality, which is just our sexual energy, before we can become expert levels at like having sex with each other. Most of us don't even understand where our erectile tissue is fully, or what sexual energy feels like coursing through our own bodies, and then we smush ourselves against another person and we expect like miracles to happen. No.
So do you think that it's more important to learn yourself first?
Yes.
So that's a yes.
Masturbation, great. That's a hell fucking yes. Like, know your own body. Do not fuck someone else until you have fucked yourself thoroughly.
Okay, she says that with the
quote of the day.
Quote of the day. Okay. Really?
Masturbation is the foundation of our sexuality.
I mean, it does, one, teach you who you are, what you like. You learn your own boundaries of like, dislike.
Yeah, if you want to try new things, like for example, if I had never used cannabis with sex or sexual energy, whatever you want to call it, and then I just tried to do it with another person, that would maybe be confusing because say I had like a big emotional release or I got really anxious, and I'd be like, oh, was that like something that was happening with my partner or was that the cannabis? say I've got like this new beautiful bud here. So say I masturbated with this first and was like, wow, that made me, super sensitive. I had like a really beautiful, energetic orgasm, and then like, I don't know, whatever. I won't get into all the details. Okay, but then say I decided to have partner sex after that, then I would like know what was coming for me. I think we need to know ourselves sexually before we complicate. I think it's responsible
right.
to know how to...
I agree with that.
Right?
I think it is responsible. But how do you then tell somebody that has... There are a lot of people that we see, whether it's in family practice or wherever, that come in and will say, they think, religion gets involved with all this crap, so somehow somebody's going to hell, for masturbating. But not only that, one that they just don't feel good doing it. Mm. So is that they just don't know themselves yet? How do you start bridging a gap like that to somebody? Well, I can't even talk about cannabis yet because they're not even sure how it's good for their own well-being.
Okay, so you want to touch on why?
No, I don't even want to touch on why it's good for the well-being yet. I want to touch on wanting. The wanting part. How do you deal with that emotional side to say it's okay? How do you deal with somebody who doesn't want to masturbate, but yet knows that maybe it is good for them, and then we can talk about all those things?
Well, I think first of all we just need to accept ourselves as we are. Okay?
Right.
Because I had this whole mission. So I was in like a long-term committed relationship where I didn't want to have sex anymore, and that's really what got me truly fired up about figuring my stuff out. And I made it this mission to want sex. And what that led me down was this pathway of realizing that it was okay to not want to have sex, but I wanted to figure out how to be sexual with myself and how to have a sexual relationship with myself so that I knew how I would want to have sex in the future with another person. So if you don't want to have sex, that's totally cool. You don't have to have sex ever again. And just like if that's something you're dealing with, feel the relief in your body as you're given that permission to never want to have sex ever again. Like you don't have to change yourself, and that often will make you want to have sex sooner than if you decide that you need to want to have sex. If you can actually look at your life and try to understand why you don't want to have sex.
What if people, right, which is mostly around trauma, I find a lot of it is around, not mostly, I find a lot of it is around trauma. So
for sure, trauma, and then also consider that you might not like sex because sex isn't giving you what you want out of sex. You're not having sex that feels good. Just like if you only ever ate shitty food, like that didn't taste good to you.
Right.
Maybe you wouldn't have a great relationship with food.
Right.
And you would even want to avoid meal times or whatever. You know, if your food always tasted like crap, like it was your least favorite food, that was the only thing you got, and then you would have like obligatory eating sessions, of course there'd be a lot of trauma around food.
So good point.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can I ask Katrina a question?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have so much
Oh, sorry. I know you have so. This
Hey,
is
go.
so relevant.
No, go on.
I read an article about how young people today, ages 18 to 30, are having much less sex than they used to 10 years ago, 20 years ago, so on and so forth. And the article was relaying it to social media and the fact that we no longer really connect with ourselves anymore. We rely so much on these outside sources. We don't even talk to our spouses anymore. Everyone's What do you think about that? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I'm really interested in this as well because I think the way that we have sex is going to change. Like, more online mind fuckery.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I think, but yeah, intimacy. We're in a total intimacy famine, which so link back to your first question about like why are people sending me dick pics when I'm just talking about masturbation?
I can't believe you even remembered that. I just remembered it. I was like, oh, eventually I'll get back. Yeah.
I think we're sexually starved. We have this plethora of like Victoria's Secret like imaging of really surface level sexuality that kind of pulls us. It's like the hook in sexuality. We're like, oh, that's sexy. I feel something. But that is like the white sugar of sex. It's like, oh, that's tasty. And then I feel like it's just not satisfying. It's not deeply nourishing.
It disappears very quickly.
Yeah, and so what people are really hungry for right now is intimacy and connection. And they're not getting that from the sex that they're having. This is why people go down dating apps and then they just talk for weeks because they just want to fucking friend. You know what I mean? Like, we want connection right now and safety. And I think a lot of us don't feel safe to have sex. If you're not used to having face-to-face conversations with people and feeling comfortable, why would you want to have sex? That's like next level version of the shit that already gives you anxiety. So this isn't a problem that's isolated with sex. This is a problem with our whole society.
You brought up a really interesting point. So, I mean, I think maybe then the first question is, before we even talk about, are you comfortable having sex, even having sex with yourself? Do you talk to other people? Do you have friends? Right? Are you socially isolated? Do you get out?
What do you do to relax? If your nervous system is chalked up on fight, flight, freeze, fawn, like all of those reactions, it is not telling you to have sex. And most people are in constant trauma and like a trauma loop, right? Like in the past. So they're up in their head and their body's not even allowing them to want to have sex because that's a bad idea for your body because it thinks you're, you know, in a trauma.
It's ready to go. Right.
It's ready to go.
It's like, I got to get the fuck out as quick as I can.
Yeah, so what are you doing to relax and to lower your stress? Because we forget, you know, people are like high achievers and they're like, well, now I hear masturbation's good for me, but I don't even want to masturbate, so I'll do that on Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. for 1 hour. You know, it's like, fucking hell. Like, can we be nice to ourselves?
Yeah.
Like, what do you actually want to fucking do right now?
Yeah.
Take a nap. God damn it.
I hear you. I mean, I'll bring this back to one of the reasons why I think cannabis is beneficial for sexual health. And that's because both THC and CBD are beneficial. It's beyond just the physical. The emotional side of stress relief and quality of life improvement with the use of THC is also beneficial in the enhancement of sexual desire. And that relaxation that you get lets you take your mind off. And one of the largest things they find in these studies, right? I like these studies. Quote them later. Are you like a doctor? I don't know. So maybe you're like on Tuesday. Is the idea that with relaxation, and the use of cannabis, which helps relax you, which helps take your mind, alleviate that stress that you get from, you know, your whole daily activity and decreases anxiety in general, now allows you to enjoy the pleasure of being intimate and having sex more. And that's one of the non-physiological reasons for using cannabis during for sexual health. Now, there's a physiological reason why cannabis helps to decrease anxiety because perhaps, you know, it improves 5-HT reuptake inhibition, which means serotonin.
Is it a vasodilator as well?
It depends where, but yes. It's a bronchodilator as well. Yeah, there's lots of things that it does, but yes, one of those things. CBD, for example, totally causes muscle relaxation and hypotension because it vasodilates your arteries.
Which means you can have stronger erection.
You possibly can have, you could have a stronger erection.
The more you know.
But you'll also have, you'll be able to get an erection if you're not stressed out.
And girls have erections too.
Of course.
Just you didn't know. And they have just as much erectile tissue as men. Yeah.
Just can't see it. Well, ours started off like yours. But ours started off like yours in embryology. We just
got it until week 12.
That's right. Oh, look at you, huh? Yeah. Here, huh? That's very good. I can't even trick you. No, she knows. So that's that. So THC would be specifically good for relaxation, CBD for vasodilation, but also to muscle relaxation, right? If you're totally, you know, if you have like trismus, if you're like closed off,
vaginismus. Yeah, exactly. We do not understand pussies in general, and they are speaking to us, people. They're like, not ready, don't let's do that. And we're like, how about I just trick you? Like,
Right.
we have to prescribe numbing creams to women who are having vulva pain. And I just want to say to anyone listening who has vulva pain or pain during sex, like, your body is wise, straight up, and cannabis can totally help attune you to your own body's wisdom.
It'll also help decrease your pain.
Yeah.
So
it won't numb you.
Yeah, it won't numb you, and cannabis it won't numb you at all, but it'll help decrease your pain sensation.
What a magical plant.
It is a magical plant. It really kind of does a lot of things. Actually, so even during orgasm, so you have your endocannabinoid, so your body produces that stuff, and during orgasm, like through climax, you and this is actually in randomized controlled trials, if you can believe it.
I love to just imagine how they.
This is why I told you to watch Master. What's it called? What's the name of that show? What's that?
Isn't it Master and Baby?
No. That's Master Baby. No, wrong one. It's something in Masters. Anyway, that show. It's called Johnson and Master and Johnson, something like that. Master and Johnson or Johnson and Masters, something like that. They did all of the. It's a Netflix show. Maybe it's not on Netflix. Masters and Johnson. That's what it is. Or Masters of Sex. That's the name of the TV show, and it's about Masters and Johnson. And they did all of the research in the beginning. They were laughed at. It's kind of like what we do around cannabis. They were laughed out of the halls, looking at how long erections last, how long orgasm lasts. All the knowledge we have right now, a lot of it was done based on them. Yeah, it was really, really, really cool. But I don't remember where I was going with that whole conversation. Do you remember?
Endocannabinoids.
Right. So the endocannabinoids. So during
and how in the month of May you're not going to have to smoke.
Right. Right. You're going to have lots of endocannabinoids. But you increase 2AG, which is an endocannabinoid. So through climax. Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. See how? Woo! I can quote that. So we know that the endocannabinoid system is pretty highly involved with sexual health. Yeah. That's our own body's reaction.
Lots of people, I think, will say, like, they get stoned and then they go through a phase of, like, wanting to stretch, and then they go through a phase of just wanting to sex.
Yeah.
You know, like, this is one of the phases of being stoned for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, why exactly it happens, we're not fully certain, to be honest. We don't have a lot of the answers when it comes to why cannabis helps. It could be that a lot of these things are sexual lubricants. One, THC absorbs a lot quicker. Most things absorb a lot quicker vaginally. For example, people use, and this is really bad, people used to infuse, like, tampons with alcohol.
I remember saying that.
But the alcohol ones, they'd end up in the hospital. Because you'd end up with, like, a little bit of alcohol, and you'd end up, like, super, super toxic. Because it absorbs so quickly through those mucous membranes. So now you can use cannabis enemas. And about 10 years ago, I was giving Crohn's patients. And they work really well. There's actually some good evidence for the use of cannabis in Crohn's, mostly THC in Crohn's disease. But vaginally using, like, lubricants, a lot of these people are coming up with the lubricants now, CBD and
I brought one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, from Foria.
Oh, yeah, Foria, exactly. So Foria.
This is called Awaken. It's a CBD one.
Yeah, so the question is, what does it actually do? Is it the lubricant?
It feels relaxed.
But
By it, I mean my vulva.
Right. Right, we're not really sure the science fully behind it. It could be.
But we do.
We do need the science, because if we're going to reproduce these things, you need the science. What's that? Are you alive there, Al? Oh, we have Al, by the way.
I'm just listening.
Al, all of a sudden pipes in. He's on the speaker. He's like the little guy with the thing.
Who is that?
Al is the guy that's putting us on Portfolio Radio. Al Rap. You there, Al?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just listening.
I thought there was
I'm looking for porn for later.
Well, Al with the, I don't know who you were talking to there, but the Shatterizer's working for you.
Is it?
I don't know.
So we were talking about how and why people should masturbate and how to want to masturbate.
Yeah. So, I think we also spoke about, like, why cannabis is.
Yeah.
But, So now let's say great, cannabis is good, but if somebody's not willing to try it, then they're not going to know. So cannabis can help them get to that point because it can help decrease the trauma. It helps decrease definitely.
It helps regulate your nervous system.
It does. No, but it's specifically in PTSD patients that suffer from PTSD and trauma. Cannabis is helpful. THC is beneficial. So, yeah, and it helps regulate your nervous system through different mechanisms, of course, but it'll help you get to that point.
Yeah.
It could help you get to that point.
So if you don't want to use cannabis, then you just need to figure out ways to regulate your nervous system without using cannabis.
Like what?
So buying like a big bag of rice, this is something I always recommend, dried rice, and just lay it across your hips and just lay down with like your legs elevated. Do that for like 10 minutes a day. It totally helps you regulate your nervous system.
Wow, really?
Having weight on you. Yeah, totally. Like weighted blankets. You've heard of these?
No.
I've never heard of weighted blankets?
No.
Wow,
Let's
welcome.
Let's go. Like dropping knowledge.
Yeah,
I like the dropping knowledge. So what are we talking about?
So if your nervous system is in your parasympathetic, right, where it's like
no, sympathetic, like fight or flight.
Okay, fight or flight. Then you have, but nothing's actually happening with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Your brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined, so you have to like figure out how to tell your brain like, I'm cool right now. Get with it. We're here. We're cool. So there's some things that you can do to get your nervous system back into the present moment. Use your senses. So just like notice like one thing from every sense. Like, what does it taste like in my mouth right now? Oh, I'll let a chocolate chip melt in my mouth. That's good for your nervous system. Okay? That's good. If you can be like, oh, what am I looking at right now? You can just like lightly brush and be like, what does that on my fingertips, like using your senses to get you present, and then having weight on your body is just incredibly grounding. It does something to your nervous system. This is why you do like those like tight wrap things around dogs with anxiety. This is why
they do.
Yeah. So that
I'm not a bit.
Yeah, there's that, and then anxiety blankets, which are these weighted blankets that have kind of like blown up the internet the past year or two.
I thought people were just crazy.
But that's
you're all just crazy.
It's for your nervous system. And so that would be one tip. I mean, if you can get stoned and then have the bag of dried rice, you can buy these things, they're called yoga props. You know, you can get a bag of sand.
Yeah.
And it's like $25, $30 for this yoga prop. Or you can buy like a cheap bag of rice. If you do that, and then local toning as well, like with every exhale, you do that for 5 minutes, you are doing really good things for your nervous system. And if you're into cannabis, couple that with cannabis to enhance it. And we need more rest than we need anything else.
Yeah. I think maybe one of the major issues is we're always on the go. Our world is all go. I mean, I'm always go. The truth is I love go, though. For me, chill mode is stress mode. If I'm doing nothing, I'm like, I got to do something. But I feel super relaxed when I'm doing things.
That's good.
I stress out when I'm sitting. Like, I stress out when I'm sitting.
Get a bag of rice.
But or like I'm super absolutely.
Maybe 5.
Can I put a building on top? Like, the only time you'll see me.
People to lay on.
Just lay on me. Sorry, what do we do? Just lay on me for 5 minutes.
Don't question it.
Let's just see what happens right now. I like that. But in yoga, you know, like when they put those big blankets, I've never taken one. I think maybe I had one class at the end. I do like being confined to small spaces. Like I like being in an MRI machine. Like
I've never been in one.
I'm like those. I don't like being. Let me change that. Not that fine do. Right. I like definitely the opposite of claustrophobia.
You like being tied up.
That's me. Not me. Like the opposite of that. Anyway. So point being, I don't mind being in confined spaces, like small. I'm the opposite of claustrophobic. As long as I can move. Like, I don't know, but I'm claustrophilic. Is that a word?
It is now.
But I feel most relaxed when, like, like, you're right. Now that I think about it, like, when there's, as long as my head is, like, I need to breathe, I get too hot, I'm like a furnace. So I, like, get really hot. And so, like, my head is free, like, and I can be like, I have to move all the time, though.
Buy yourself a weighted blanket.
Okay.
Like, maybe also have it, like, on you.
Yeah, right.
That might be a thing.
You know what I mean? Eat it all over. So what are the benefits?
Of what?
Benefits. Health benefits of masturbation, health benefits of healthy sex.
Okay, so if we think about organs in the body, they need blood flow to stay healthy. Yeah?
I don't know. You tell me, doctor.
I'm not a doctor.
I'm kidding.
I feel better that I'm here with the doctor, but just the disclaimer.
But you're very right.
None of this is a replacement for medical advice.
There you go. Yeah, right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write a directive that says, listen to Katrina.
Yeah.
There you go.
Like,
now you have an advanced directive, and it's medical advice.
Wow, cool. Okay, well then.
If I agree with it.
Okay.
As long as I agree with it, I'll write it as a medical directive.
Okay, cool. So I think
But this is nothing here, by the way, now just as a disclaimer, none of this is medical advice. We're just talking.
Excellent.
Now go on.
Okay. So you have to use your body if you want it to stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Just like basic.
Use it or lose it.
Use it or lose it. My teacher, Dr. Betty Dotson, turns 90 this year, and she's still orgasming on the regular.
Okay.
And so, to me, you should see it. I'll show you a picture of her. She
posted one.
Yeah, she does not look 90.
No.
She looks amazing.
Yeah.
And I just think that's such a testament to what using your sexual energy throughout your entire lifetime can do. It's literally creation energy. It's what makes cells multiply.
Yeah.
We got to be doing this. You can study ancient Taoism. They knew this. They can teach you, if you study sexual Taoism, how to use your sexual energy and direct it at different organs for healing. I studied this in Thailand in January. It was madness.
Really?
Yeah.
Give me an example.
So your lungs carry a lot of grief. There's different positions that you can have sex in and different visualizations of cycling that energy and then directing it at your lungs. And both you and your partner use that visualization while you're having sex. Wow. And there's different prescriptions that they would give. Like thousands of years ago, we knew that sex was medicine. And, I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty
that's
cool.
Really cool.
I just think that this is knowledge.
Amazing.
This is knowledge.
Yeah.
This is really...
Yeah.
So, I mean, just that idea, I mean, it just adds a whole new dynamic.
Yeah, sex, you can use sex
It's an
for
intention.
anything.
It's an intent. There's significant... I mean, of course, we all have different intentions for sex, but this is like a healing intention.
Yeah, so if you don't like sex right now, think about what do you like? And, like, why do you like it? Do you like things that are relaxing? Well, then have sex in relaxing ways. Do you like things that are exciting and fun? Then bring more playfulness to your sex life. Do you like, what do you need in your life right now? And just have sex in ways, which means using your sexual energy and doing something with it, in ways that actually work for you. So it can be healthy for so many reasons. Lots of people masturbate to fall asleep at night. Great, you didn't take a sleeping pill. Like, awesome.
Yeah, no, that 100%.
Right, so that's one benefit. Another benefit would be if you have painful periods, masturbate more, get more blood flow to the area, like massage your belly.
So
like,
decrease
vulva
menstrual
massage,
crampage. Yep, very true.
Get in there.
Interesting.
Get in there.
There are, there are so many, there are a lot of health benefits. I think the hardest part that we find, at least in our practice, is that a lot of people are in pain. And also the notion that sex equals penetration. And so for a lot of people, it's very difficult I can't please X because of my pain. And so dealing with those things, one, what is the source of pain, of course, so cannabis can help, but also dealing with your trauma and all those other things are super beneficial to enhancing your own sexual life. But also, this idea of using sex as healing, this is knowledge. This is knowledge now. Yeah,
transformational. Actually.
It is. Yeah, no, it actually is. It's
it's the first time I've heard it.
It's the first time I heard it as well.
Marvin Gaye tried to tell it to me.
Yeah, you're right. It's sexual healing. Yeah, everybody danced now. That's knowledge right there. Like, I've never heard that before. So where can I learn?
I'm going to try it with my lungs.
Oh, yeah. My lungs?
I mentioned the lungs because I was doing this meditation at this, and this is the thing.
I skipped the respirologist. I didn't skip it. I couldn't get to the respirologist yesterday. So my lungs are all messed up.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll send you the sexual prescription.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want this. I had no idea.
Stored in the lungs. The same emotion that usually gets stuck in the lungs.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did this meditation, and one thing I'll say is everyone's like, yeah, I want sexual healing. I'm sorry, you're also going to have to learn how to meditate and, like, focus on very subtle sensations. Like, you don't just get handed sexual healing without doing work.
Oh.
Okay, sorry, it's not a
well, that doesn't sound any fun now. I don't like the work.
Yeah, so you have to have it.
The work is I don't know.
Need a prescription.
Give them the prescription. I'm over the work. I just want the
I'll pay for it.
No, but hold on. Really? This is the thing. Like, this is the thing. Where can I read more about it? I don't want the prescription. I want to read.
So Mantak Chia is doing a lot of this work. He has a retreat center in northern Thailand. It's just north of Chiang Mai. Mantak, M-A-N-T-A-K.
Oh, I got it.
Chia, like chia pudding. Or chia seed. Yeah, chia seed. Yeah.
That's the chia seeds. No, is that all right?
Yeah, they make chia pudding out of chia seeds.
Oh, they do? Okay. I didn't know that. What's a chia pet?
A chia pet is one of those
thing that
they use grass.
Probably.
So they didn't tell us that you could eat those, and those would be super healthy.
Hold on a second. They make chia pets from chia seeds?
Yeah, chia seeds.
How do they turn green?
Those are just chia.
grow.
No, maybe
that was probably. I sounded pretty not intelligent at that moment. Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Ask me anything you want about cannabis.
I'm a doctor.
Physiology. Don't ask me to bake, cook. I can try. No, I tried. Grow, sing, chia pets. Really, you can eat something. So, because I like chia. You know what I learned about chia seeds? It's totally off topic, like nothing else I talk about. Right. Weighted blanket. No, I need the weighted blanket, but I also. You ever read the book Born to Run? Right. Born to Run is an amazing book. It's when I stopped wearing, like, I used to think that I had to wear shoes with insoles and all, like, these high I needed all the support in the world, and then I read this book, Born to Run, and then I started writing articles after doing a lot of research on run. See, if something is in my head, I'm going to get to the bottom of it. There's got to be some truth and spirit, and I don't use the word God. Right? No, I did for a long time, and then I learned. Anyway, I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Everybody, just be happy.
So Born to Run.
So Born to Run. Right. So Born to Run. This tribe in Mexico called the Turahumara was their name, in the Copper Canyons. They would run just for breakfast 50 miles. Like, that was their morning run, just like for fun. And they would run. It was literally for fun. That's what they did.
That's how they killed animals.
No, that's what they did as well. No, they would do 100-mile runs for killing animals. Read the book again. But thanks for coming out. Nice try. So they would do, like, these morning runs. They would take their 4-year-old kids and they would start doing these 50-mile runs. And but then once a year they would do, like, this 24-hour run. They would do these, like, crazy long-distance running things. And they would do them all barefoot. But back to the chia seed. So the question is, what did these guys, they were making this, so the book is about a reporter who goes, or a runner, or maybe a runner reporter, I can't remember, and goes to learn about them, and they're eating this, like, what he thought was, like, this nasty thing, and it ended up being chia pudding. And that was, like, their energy source, their fuel to do these long runs, was eating chia seeds. So I started running barefoot and eating chia seeds. I'm like, I can do this. Actually, but then I noticed all my back pain started going away when I was running. Yeah, because our body is built for axial load. That's what we have a spine, right? We're erected, right? Homo erectus. We stand up, literally. So our spine is built to stand up. So, yeah. Right. So, considering we're born to stand up, we're born to run. We can pretty much outrun any animal on the planet as humans.
Over time, yeah.
Over time, right? You may lose in the short term. Right. In the short term, but in the long run, we have more stamina than any other mammal. We sweat. We also have more, our aerobic capacity can just keep going. Look at a cheetah, a tiger, a lion, all those guys would kill us in 500 to a kilometer. But
The animals not be doing 24 hours.
they do, but they don't regulate well.
Yeah, they can't quite
They
as well.
can't.
That's why, like,
out their mouth, like dogs.
True, I've never seen an animal sweating.
They can't. They out of their mouth. They regulate their body temperature well. But, So anyway, we'll win over time. I don't know. Bottom line is chia seeds.
Chia seeds.
That was the point. Back to this. Health and sexual everything.
Healing.
You've blown my mind.
Banana on your coat.
Back to this last thing. Mantak Chia.
Yeah, check him out.
And there's some books I can read about this?
Yeah, he's written a bunch of books. Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
And there's some evidence around this?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds really crazy. And when I saw him, I laughed so much because I couldn't believe how madness it is. He's like telling you to picture like slicing your head open to like find your pineal gland, and then you like open it up to the stars and like let all this violet light into your skull, and like I basically felt like I was making shit up for 4 days before I finally like got it, and it was during this meditation of the lungs, and we're supposed to be like removing grief from our lungs. I just like broke down crying out of nowhere, and then my teacher was it was someone who was practicing on me, and she said, okay, move to the next one, and I lost it at her.
Really?
And left. And I realized, like, oh my God, there's a lot of shit in my lungs.
Wow.
But I was so happy that happened, because it was me, like, really willing to understand and experience these very subtle things that felt like I was making it up for 4 days. And then the moment, like, your brain actually connects with your visualization and you actually get it, then you experience these shifts in your body. So that's why I was just warning you, like, you do have to do some work in order to tune into these more subtle things that are happening. And cannabis, I mean, for me, it helps me focus and, like, stay on weird trajectories that I'm not usually used to being on.
Good at that,
Yeah, so cannabis can really help you if you're trying to take a more subtle or more, esoteric healing approach to your sexuality. Good combo.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, what's not working for us right now is just traditional medicine that we're using in Western world.
Yeah.
We're just, I think there has to be a combination of both the Eastern world, the Western world, and all medicine. I am a believer in evidence. I am an evidence-based physician, but at the end of the day, an N of 1 is the best study that we can do, and that's, if it works for you, it works for you. And that's the best trial that we have.
Yeah.
And
we don't have the instruments to measure stuff correctly anyways right now, right? So we can't just use that.
The idea of having things like that have to be a randomized control trial and all this stuff, I mean, it was built by Big Pharma to exclude most of the small players so that, we can spend multi-million dollars on one study. Where most people can't do that. But still, at the same time, we do have a hierarchy of evidence to which we can generalize to other people. I can't generalize things to, for example, what works for you, I can say works for you. And that's a very high level of evidence because it works for you. There's no level of evidence that will get higher than to say it works for you. But can I then say what works for you is going to work for you? I can't say that. Because I don't know. I don't know if it'll work on a population level because that requires data and evidence.
Right.
That's hard to do. Now, is it harmful? So for me, I always look at the harms of something. Is it going to harm you to do X? And if it's not going to harm you, then why the hell not give it a shot? Right? My first, when I first named, Synergy, it's the before it became natural pain and wellness centers. It was our motto was do no harm, then do everything else you can. And that could, but then I decided to take away the do no harm because I'm not a prohibitionist, and I think that comes from a prohibitionist mentality instead of looking at let's work on your wellness versus prohibiting. It's just the language is a little different. So I think though, I've learned, I didn't know that these things can happen, and I don't see why we wouldn't introduce them into our daily life, especially around people that nothing else is working for.
And you have nothing to lose. Like, there's so many other, if you take the sexual medicine prescription thing to, make your lungs better, and you have sex with your partner for, 14 days in a row using a specific breath, I mean, that's just cool.
Yeah,
you know,
that
even
is
if it
cool.
doesn't fix your
Right.
lungs,
It'll fix your life.
even the yeah, like it will fix a lot of things. And having, you know, the teamwork of like fixing a problem using your sexual energy. I don't know. Whenever I have a bigger intention for doing something, I get way better results because there's more of a pull for a result to come through. Just like say you open this clinic just because you want it to be rich, it would fall apart really soon. But if you open
it would have fallen apart day one. There's no money doing what we do.
Yeah. So when you have an intention of like wanting to bring
Because
wellness, then all of a sudden like more people come together and like things get created because you have a bigger intention. So when we have a bigger intention with using our sexual energy, really cool shit can come together.
Katrina.
Yeah.
Pleasure of Priestess. It was amazing having you here. Thank you so much. Honestly, that was really, really awesome. Super enlightening. Yeah.
Wow, thank you for having me.
It wasn't as awkward as I thought.
No. And if you want to hear me shout out about masturbation, I'll be going live every single day on my Instagram in May. I do this every year.
Can you tell people where they can find you, please?
Yes, you can find me at Pleasure Priestess on Instagram. You can go to my website and read my whole story.
What's your website?
KatrinaMarie.com. And if this stuff really resonates with you and you're like, I've got work to do but I have no idea where to begin, I created an online course for women called Orgasmic Living, and all of that stuff on my website.
Well, that's amazing. I'm blown away. There's some knowledge that was dropped I wasn't expecting. I didn't know that, and I want this information in Mantac Chia. That's my next go-to, and I like chia seeds, so I'm totally into the game. Thank you so much for being here. We're not done yet.
Oh, we're not?
No, because now I have to do some news.
Oh,
so let's go today's news. In other news. Anyway, so that was amazing. Thank you so much. Just before we go, just a couple things that have happened in the recent last week. Not too much has happened in the last full week, but today, Ken Harrower, I think is his name, Ken Harrower, he put in a human rights challenge for the way that cannabis is being sold in Ontario, and also the way that the medical LPs are selling it. He believes that it's not fair access for medicine. I do agree with him, actually. I mean, you have to pay $5 for shipping, you got to pay an excise tax, and so he's challenging this. And of course, what's his name? He's taking it on. Lloyd. Jack is going to be legal counsel on it, so I wish him the best of luck, because hopefully we'll at least be able to get off the excise tax. Right now, there's no other medicine in Canada that has a tax on it. It's $1 per. It's $1 per gram.
So it's like 10%.
Yeah, it's $1 per gram on top of the HST that you're already paying. And the point of an excise tax is to try, like cigarettes, for example, have a massive excise tax. The things that have an excise tax, the purpose of it is to dissuade its use. That's really the reason for an excise tax. And so, so the government is in essence trying to dissuade the use of cannabis, even for medical purposes. So there are some companies that have come together trying to get rid of it, but I think it looks really poorly on the government to have this excise tax in there, considering all the research and data that's coming out. Just wait till I just finished data collection on a 1,200 patient study, looking at opioids and cannabis use and the decrease in opioid rates using cannabis, which is massive. Yeah, and we're going. My next study, I have a study starting in September looking at women's health, an RCT using cannabis to decrease menstrual cramps and dysmenorrhea, painful menstruation. Anyway, so these are all things that it's just an absolute ridiculous thing, and they should go away. Okay, so what else is happening? There was some research that just came out that 80% of Canadians are turning to cannabis for wellness.
I love that.
80%. That is fucking massive.
I think it's higher, but yeah.
At least the study shows 80%. It's like 80%.
It's crazy.
80%. Using it for wellness.
Yeah.
Back in 2009, what are those people who who like shit.
Oh boy.
They run like a whole like they're supposed to be like neutral in the world and they Switzerland, but they're in there. Maybe it's at the Hague. What do they have there? What are those people?
Oh my God.
What is the name of that organization? United Nations.
Oh.
This is not United Nations.
The guys that do nothing. Right.
The guys that do nothing. That would have made sense.
That's what I was trying to say that. I'm like, I can't say that they were nice to me. They're not. Anyway, the United Nations said that 40% of the world's population uses cannabis to get high. But we're looking now at double that. We're looking at 80% of Canadians using cannabis for wellness. That says something. Remember, this is wellness. We're not saying just to get high. We're saying for wellness. That's huge, and I think that has huge implications on, one, the future of cannabis and the industry at large. So I think we should continue to look at that. I think it's awesome. And I don't care about what Shoppers Drug Mart is doing. I don't care about that other dude. Okay, that's all I got for today. So I hope everybody enjoyed it, and I was super enlightened. Don't forget to check out Katrina's, all her stuff. Rena, what do you have to say?
Oh.
What's happening? Anything you want to put in there?
GMM is coming up this Saturday.
Oh, ABCD?
Global Marijuana March.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which happens all around the world, actually. So,
I'm not invited to these things. Nobody cares about me.
Actually, I got a reminder this week. So even with legalization, initially the premise was to push for legalization. Now that we have legalization, it's now pushing for reform. So come and join us Saturday at Queen's Park. It's free. You'll see thousands of people there gathering, commuting, smoking, enjoying.
Vaping. I'll do my usual.
You should just go around everybody.
Listen, Rena walked me into, we went to Canna Crawl, and I literally walked into this entire smoke fest of a room. It was disgusting. My lungs were killing right away, and I stood in there and I said, I'm Dr. Price. Hi. And I'm promoting vaping. And I even have a vaporizer. Literally, everybody laughed at me. You're sitting on this thingy, and it's like killing my thing. There we go.
You got it?
Yeah. And literally, Rena was there. Somebody looked at me and was like, listen, old man. Remember that guy? Yeah.
He kept saying no one cares, but they were listening.
They were like, This one guy's like, yeah, these youngins over, and he was young himself.
Anthony from Hamilton Vape hasn't had a smoke since the
Yeah.
last show. That is
massive.
one of the biggest smokers and one of the most influential smokers in the city, and he has not been smoking since.
What makes you an influential smoker? How do I become
he's a cannabis business owner, so, people come to him for advice, and, his opinions.
You do you, boo. We do us. You know what I mean? And, yeah, hey, you pulled out a vape today.
I did.
And for me, for you to put away a blunt, to pull out the vape, nobody wanted to hear about vape roll when I started it. And they still don't, but I think
vape roll and masturbation May. This is awesome.
It's going to, I think it's going to build, because some influencers are taking it up. Even Tyler put away his phone.
Oh my God.
And picked up a vape. So, slowly, one step at a time. Because it's healthy. If you believe cannabis is good for health and wellness, you won't smoke.
High, too. It's actually, I don't want to say.
It's a cleaner high.
It is. I know, I hate to say smoking sounds so bad, but it is. It's a little more energetic.
I don't get
vape essential
oil. No, I put a drop. It's my new favorite thing. I just have to tell you about it.
Oh, cannabis drop?
No, it's a turmeric oil.
As long as it doesn't have propylene glycol in it.
My vape. No, it's just pure turmeric.
Oh, turmeric is good. Yeah, you can.
Good for everything.
What? What's with the no?
There's been recent RCTs that turmeric doesn't have any cardiovascular.
No, but it decreases pain.
It tastes so good with the cannabis.
But really, turmeric has no cardiovascular benefits?
Yeah, it was like steroids, called atherosclerosis or something along those lines, but it does nothing.
Really?
But it's an anti-inflammatory.
If you high dose, it'll actually.
This is all turned to the opposite?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
She knows all the research. She makes me look dumb, too. Kidding.
Thanks for hosting it.
Kidding. I know, yeah. So, listen. It was wonderful having you here. Use your turmeric. Turmeric does have anti-inflammatory properties.
And it makes it taste good.
And sure. Vape over smoke any day of the week, especially if you believe it's for health and wellness. If it's healthy, why
It makes
smoke
it
it?
like suave, like vape pens now too. They're just like cool.
You just have to be careful that it doesn't have any harmful solvent in it, like an emulsification factor or something like that, like propylene glycol, which is most of these things are mixed with propylene glycol.
You don't. You don't have to.
PG
vegetable glycerin.
Yeah, you can use vegetable glycerin. PG though is what they use on large scale.
Yeah.
And it's not good. We use it a lot in the hospitals in IV bags, and we do. Yeah. So Dilantin, for example, it causes hypotension. It's propylene glycol that causes it. You can get, trust me. These things I know. You can nod. At the end of the day, you still have finished residency maybe like 6 years later.
Damn fighting words.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna take her down. I would have I would lose. Maybe. I'm just trying to be nice to you. Okay, so genius. Anyway, I got nothing left to say. Bye, everyone.
What are you doing? Nothing. Why not?
Trying to get on this Lifestyle Radio website.
Sounds like a cool website.
Yeah, it's alright. Oh, wait, I might have it.
You might have it.
You're listening to Lifestyle Radio.
The opinions expressed during this show are those of the individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of their associated organizations or Lifestyle Radio.